All right, me and Finnegan here. There's a project that I wanted to do for a long time. Ever since I saw that show Alone, I thought, man, how would you have an efficient shelter that you could do fairly quickly, was safe from predators, warm, and insulatable and all that. In my mind, this is what I came up with. And I've been sort of looking for a hillside since. So we're up at the cabin. It's about the middle of April. Still ice on the pond. But here's the thing. Essentially, there's going to be a big cut that I'm going to take out of this hillside. And then I'm going to put logs across and dirt over top of the logs. And then you need to build a doorway. Essentially that. You need obviously ground that is diggable. Look at this nice sand and stuff. But the problem is, if you get diggable ground, the risk really goes up if you're going to tunnel, right? So we don't want to just tunnel, which would sort of be easier, because then you've just got to put some beams up. Boop, boop, boop. Go in, beam, boop, boop, boop. But imagine putting that top log up. You put in some side logs on a rock down there, foundation, side log, and then you're putting this upper log in, and you're in this hole. It's dark, there's sand in your eyes, and you've got to widen it as you go, and it just sounds kind of disgusting. So the plan is to basically dig out this hillside in this same kind of aspect that you see. And then logs will go across, dirt will go back on, you'll have a doorway. And of course your doorway has to be higher than where water would pool, so you have to make that drainable. This will have to be opened up a little bit further. And essentially that's it. Don't really know what I'll be getting into in terms of how rocky this ground will be, but it's still a bit frozen. The Rootcellar that's under the cabin, I'm going to turn that into an ice room for the summertime to keep things cold. Get big blocks of ice out of the pond in the winter or spring, hold it down there to keep things cool all summer, and build a proper Rootcellar for all the potatoes I grew up here. Too hard to dig under the cabin to make it the size and scope I want. Whereas right now it's perfect just for a refrigerator. A big refrigerator, but still. This, of course, can't be down below. You can't have all your snow and water and rain pooling in here. So this has to get cut out so it's a slope down. Also, I can get the wheelbarrow in and out that way as I get more expansive, assuming there's not some giant big fucking rock right in the middle. And if there is, I will abandon mission. You can kind of see the profile starting out. I tell you what, digging, I like digging. Good way to work off the winter weight as well, I would say. windy, cold day. Hey Finn, don't go anywhere, bud. All Finnegan ever wants to do is walk up here. He's too smart to go off on his own. He knows there's things out here that want him. There was a fisher sneaking through the cabin there area day before yesterday. I don't know if a fisher would eat a little dog, but this little dog has no teeth, so might not end well for him. So once this is down to the level, I'm going to make a step up approximately to kind of here, and then this will go all the way in up there. Let me just take this off the tripod for a sec. So, just having a little drink. So, why would I make a step up? Well, less dirt to move for one thing. For two, just seems to me that if you're up a level inside a cave, it's a little bit warmer than it is down below. I was in a cave in Greece with Michelle and Mila, and it was awesome. And one thing I noticed is that the people in the cave, when they used to live there, the Neanderthals and early humans, they wouldn't stay near the entrance. The cave would go up, and they were kind of up in it, and that's where the temperature stayed the most pleasant and whatnot. So yeah, that's my plan. Well, I guess it started, but it feels like a little bit more than just started physically. I guess it's the density of the soil, but it's a lot of pickaxe work in here, which is good. If it's not just like cold soil, frozen soil, then the density is great for structure. So got a fair chunk of dirt to move here yet. Wow. I think I made it a little bigger than I have to. You see, logs will go across, dirt back over top. If I was going to live in it, I'd make a chimney, basically make a square, line it all with rocks, and then that comes up. Whew, better go eat some. But yeah, it's fun digging. It's great, great spot so far, unless I hit some giant rock in there, which I feel like I could get lucky. I could handle it at this point. Alright, I'll do a little update here. Decided to put in 2 hours today. And in 2 hours, I got a pretty good amount out. It would be a lot faster if it wasn't frozen. See how kind of that lump thing comes out. That's all rock hard. But yeah, pretty pleased. I think probably like 5 to 10 hours would complete it. Yeah, depending, frozen or not frozen. It's also easier right now to be up there throwing dirt off the edge. Once you get down a certain level and you can't toss it up and over, and everything becomes a wheelbarrow load, that'll be slower also. So there's a little bit of clay. It's a little band right there. So I've been kind of saving it, putting it in the wheelbarrow and piling it in a separate spot. And that way, when I do the little stone fireplace in the back here, I'll have something to mortar the stones together with, ideally. It's all kind of frozen clay, but kind of a clay sand mix. Might just be perfect for mortar. Might be terrible. Don't know. Kind of got to use what I have if I was going to actually build this as a survival shelter, right? It actually takes 5 times longer to remove everything with a wheelbarrow. So it's more work, it's more shoveling, it's more calories. In a survival situation, you wouldn't have a wheelbarrow. But the wheelbarrow is kind of whatever. I think erroneous might be the word, but I don't want to sound like an idiot using a word that I'm not sure about. So it's not redundant, could be erroneous. But at the end of the day, it's do you use the wheelbarrow or not? You have to throw up a certain amount of dirt along the edges, or you have nothing to cover it back up with. You'll be digging into the ground to throw back dirt on, and that's of course not as, what would another good word be? As slick, as efficient, as well timed. So we're kind of getting really into the frozen stuff here. So it's going to be way easier to dig later, but I've decided I want to leave this at this height all the way to the back. Hot air will rise, and so if you're going to sleep in there, that would be your bunk. That puts the roof about here at my head level, right at this part. This part I'll dig right out so you can damn near stand up right about here. You can certainly stand up in the back and, you know, scratch your nuts or whatever. So that's that. Oh yeah, actually I wanted to point out my plan to stabilize this shelf, because you can imagine once this dries out and just turns all into sand, you know, you're hopping in and out of bed, whatever, it's all going to deteriorate into a mound. So I'm going to pound stakes in all along here, pound them in to the sand down here, and that'll act as some support. And then I'll also do it whoop, 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 all along back that way. That should hold that crib intact. Oh, I'm parched. I feel like I just found treasure. Of course, it ain't treasure, but look at this thing. It's red and quite stunning. I hope it's bigger than what it appears to be. Oh, just tiny. Just tiny and crumbly. Man, it's just that tiny little speck. Huh. Oh well. Whatever it is, I'm rich in it. It's some type of red little quartzy mineral. I guess I can stop digging now. I've hit the lottery. that's sunset. 8:30, 8 o'clock, something like that. Let it be known now that I'm not a stonemason. I got some Chilcotin loon shit mud and some rocks. See what I can do. Let not perfect be the enemy of good. I've often used that in my chicken shit haywire, make it work life. I'm not sure who said it, but it wasn't my wife. That's for sure. She is quite organized and meticulous, which helps balance out my lack thereof. What I can tell you about masonry is that you don't want the goop to be the one that saves the day. The rocks should sit on themselves stable as they are. The mortar should just be there to anchor them in place. And theoretically, if the mortar all went away slowly over time, the rock structure would remain. So far this morning here, that's not what I've done. I'm going to switch to some bigger rocks on the other side, but I have limited rocks also. You know, you got to use what you have. So it continues here. I'm lying in the back with flat rocks. I'll have to build the front of the stove last because I need to walk right into it to build the chimney. Having some nice flat big rocks is sure handy. If you had to do it all with handmade cob like clay and pine needles and little rocks, you'd have to do it little bit by little bit and let it dry out. Don't make a fire in there or just a tiny little grass kindling fire here and now. Otherwise all your weight would just, so you got to build a little bit day by day. But when you've got some nice big flat rocks kicking around, you can get away with a little more. Let's see here. All right. So here's what I was thinking. Grass, you know, I'd be tearing up little bits of grass forever, which would be okay. There's not a whole lot of grass though. To mix in here as like a binder, you know, like cob. You had to have your clay and your water and your pine needles. Hey, if you can mulch a garden with it, which is still up for debate, I'm gonna mix that in like a good Chilcotin entrepreneur pioneer. See if it works. So this is carrying on. It's the project here. I still have a little bit more to take out in here, but as I'm building this, I'll be kind of, you know, scraping this with my feet and my knees and knocking stuff down. So I want to leave a little bit there, not have it perfect, then go clomping huge stones around on it. This was some terrible digging. I mean, it was hands and knees, pickaxe stuff. I don't know, still frozen or just dense, but if I'm going to be sleeping there, I like the fact that it's dense. This will crumble. I did talk about putting in posts and stuff. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. I might let it sort of crumble and round naturally, and then you kind of got to curl up in a little ball there once this corner dissolves away. Deal with it then, because it's it'd be like Elon Musk throwing a steel ball at his Cybertruck here, but it's pretty solid. All right, carrying on. It's looking good. It's where the chimney shaft will be. It's on a slope up, because if I go straight up, well, you just need more integrity of your stonework to be proper. Or if you do it this way, you get a little more stones in the building in the shelter, and those stones will be hot, and so those stones will kind of, smoke will go up on an angle. That's the plan. The weight of the rocks will push down on each other, slightly less than if it's 100% vertical chimney job. Got me? All right. All right. You got yourself a little bit muddy, dog. Yeah, it's all right. Hey, how's it taste? Nom nom nom. Aiming for a mixture of sand, grass, and clay. This is my clay spot that I scraped out of there. Look, a wee bit runny. Oh, it is. It is a wee bit runny. More fun than the kids are having. It's cold. Yeah. about this. I don't know. Whew. It's 8 o'clock. But I didn't get started on this thing till about, I don't know, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You want to use way more stone than you need because the stone heats up. And the fire is small, it will go out, but the rocks maintain the heat. That's what will keep it warm. I will build up more of a chimney, although I won't technically need it as long as I'm above the ground a bit. And of course, all that debris, everything back there has to be taken care of, and I'll put a screen and whatnot, a spark arrestor. And halfway up, I've got a spark arrestor built in already. And I also put in a baffle rock. So instead of it just being a wide open hole for the smoke, there's a flat rock right in the middle. Kind of cuts the flow in half. So like a choke, like a draft on a wood stove, already built in. Because I don't want a rocket stove here where you put whatever in and up it goes and then it's out. I'm feeling pretty fatigued. I'm pretty content with my work, although I did get a little sloppy at the top there, using way more mortar and not placing the rocks is great because just fatigue and wanting to have a little fire in there tonight. Just for you guys. And it'll just be for show because you don't want to put a fire in there right now unless it's very, very small. You want this to all dry out, work the kinks out, settle, repair before you go guns blazing. But I have a giant rock to move in now. I'm going to place a couple across here. I'd like this to be baffled here so that there's just the openings right about here. You might have to remove a couple stones, put that rock on, but let's see. I'm going to go grab this SOB. She's a beauty. Okay. There's an abuse of pitchwood, fat wood. If you don't know what it is, well, a million woodsy folks will tell you what it is. This came out of the heart of a big old dead Douglas fir up on the Douglas fir hill. Burns like plastic. Now, what we will expect is some ironing out of things, ironing out the kinks. Ah yes, see we have some smoke not going up the hole but coming out. That's why I wanted that lip, which I'll have to build, right? A lip through here. Sounds good. Now you see you got some smoke coming up here and there. Right out of there's a little spot right there. Let's go up top. Have a look. Got a little hasty here. See, there's multiple baffles. That's one. There's another one down in there. Okay. Now, if you were hiding out, you'd run a trench right up the hill. Line it all with rocks and clay. And up there have a couple benches and an old firewood or a fire pit ring. And then when the powers that be come looking for you and they see a hot spot, they're just like, oh, it's just some old campfire, but there's nobody sitting at it. Meanwhile, you're living in here. All right. So tomorrow I'm gonna put a rock up in here and across here and hold this smoke. Fire just needs a little lip like that when you get it going until it gets hot. Okay, it's your little hobbit door framed up. I did fix that smoke issue, right? This was the top of the fire, but now it's down here, so that smoke can kind of come up and loop and go up. So I've got most of the logs I need. The trick will be getting them down here, lining them up, staking them, and then covering the works up. I've got to leave it for the day now, but I think one more day. Little holes and all this kind of stuff, you know, you just chink that all up with moss as you see fit. Moss and mud. Same with down below on the sill. I still have more excavating inside to do. I still want a little more height when I stand up. It's right about at head level when I'm right in front of the fireplace. Well, it's worked out pretty good. I cut and dragged all the logs from up top, which was still terrible to do by yourself, but not nearly as bad as if you say you took out some trees down low and had to drag them up. Also, you're probably wondering, well, what about all this dead material that's right here? Well, I like it. I want it there. In time, it'll blow down and fall on top and make this whole slope look even more natural, and this will be more secret. At this stage, you just throw some dirt on, call it a day. You know, if you're just going to survive in it for a winter or a couple years. I'd say the max, you know, you're going to get out of these logs sitting in the ground is 10 years before they're rotten. You get a little bit longer if you're actually living in it because you're keeping a heat source going and drying things out, but it'll rot from the inside. I have some black plastic, or not plastic, but rubber that was, I don't know, up here from some other project. It's not great, but I'm going to tuck it in up top, weight it down with rocks. I don't have enough to cover, but I have enough to cover maybe about half, and then I've got some legitimate like plastic roll stuff for what's left. Then I'll throw the dirt on, and then in time, you know, pine needles and all that, and make it look just like natural. Some work around the chimney still has to happen yet. It wasn't a perfect square, the hole, and so, well, long story short is there's going to be some fandangling with the chimney area with rocks and mud, which isn't good for permanence, because that's where your weak spot will be, where the hole in the roof is, where the chimney is. That's where it's always going to have leak issues and problems in any structure. You know, you put a skylight in, and no matter how good that skylight is, that's always the weak point of the roof. I just realized I'm also going to need a sill or a holder down at the bottom here. A nice big log or a couple logs on top of each other with some stakes to hold the dirt. More logs to cut when I thought I was done for the time being. Thing about using this rubber is the dirt's just going to slide down it. So I'll start putting dirt at the bottom at my sill log there that I put on, and slowly work my way up. And then I'll have to like add more as time goes on. So there's a lot more rough surfacey area on just the bark and on the logs, which your dirt would stick a lot better. But Okay. Couple more transplants and then some duff. And hopefully we get some roots going and some grass this season. And then it'll need more dirt because this will settle and stuff. Rain will wash some off. Okay, so more dirt will go on, more duff, and then a couple more big, ugly, nasty deadfall. Because you don't want, there was no game trail across it or anything, it's a bit too steep, but you don't want anything starting to make a regular of walking across your roof. I did finish the chimney. I'm pretty satisfied that it won't leak once enough grass and stuff gets growing. And then I could use a bit bigger of a flat top rock because the rain will still drip off the edges and eventually erode the clay and all that. You need a rock almost twice as big. And then you're good. Yeah, the prevailing wind is always coming across this way. You've got a pretty bare hillside here for sparks and whatnot, but obviously you're keeping super on top of that. And then yeah, this is how it looks from up above, right? So if you're trying to evade the powers that be or whatever, you'd need lots more red pine needles in here, and you'd have to deal with all the evidence out there and do the same to it, make it all look natural like it was always there. Right, bud? Okay, we're gonna put a little fire in there tonight. It's such a polite fire. Like, I just got really lucky in how I baffled inside here. It doesn't just roar, it just burns good. It just burns good and efficient and for a long time, which is super fun. I mean, I had a little fire in here last night again. I don't want that clay to dry out too fast, but it's just super polite is the only way I can describe it. It's dark in here. It's quiet. And of course, all that stuff needs to be sealed with moss, compressible type of stuff, not clay. And then build a door. I don't know if I'll get to a door on this trip. I'll just put some logs across it, make sure a cow or nothing gets in here. And then I can fully stand up. I'm in here standing up right until just in front of the door. So I've got to rake, clean all this up from the debris coming down. And yeah, Finnegan, and it's your new house. You get to live in there, Finn. It's your big den, your big, huge, mean dog den. Because you own this place. Yeah, don't you? Don't you? You own this place. It's yours. Yeah, you're an amazing guy. Boring day for you again, huh? Just sitting here watching me work. Strike on box matches. Remember the strike anywheres? Cool guys could strike them on their flies with their fingernail. If you're gonna live in a little shack like this, you have to find a way so that it is not going to smoke at all. You don't want, at a certain point when it gets really down low and almost out, that it starts smoking and then you wake up choking on smoke, or maybe you don't even wake up. And a fire is just kind of getting going. Now this isn't cured, but it will it'll do some stuff until it gets going. So now that it's got that cap rock up on top, we're going to just see how it responds. But generally you're going to get a bit of this, a little bit of smoke, even in a proper airtight whatever. You got the door and it's smoke's coming out. It's kind of bothersome. That'll happen. Again, if I was going to live in here, I'd add more mass, not just pretty little sills to dry your gear on or whatever. But I would add more and more mud and rock, so that heat is what holds you through the night. You might only have to have a fire in here to cook your food or for an hour or something, and then the stones take care of everything for the rest of the night. There, see, it's already quieted down and the smoke is not coming out anymore. The hardest part is going to be the door. If this was like a survival situation, you could come up with some type of a door thing. I'm going to build a proper door because this is going to double as a root cellar once I'm done using it as a little experiment playground. And probably a second door, double door. You want a little bit of, actually you're not going to have any issue with, airtight, it's like this is going to suck a fair amount of air, but you're not going to get airtight anyway. Don't have to worry about that. If you do go airtight and everything's airtight, then you got to, dig a trench, put in a pipe or some stones, something, so that the fire has a way to breathe, not just suck all the oxygen out of the room. Again, it's just going to be a small fire in here. Don't want to get things getting too hot while this is still wet. Shrink it too fast, cracks up, all that. So like I said, it's just a really polite fire. Just a couple sticks in there. And it doesn't rage, and it doesn't go out. It is still, there's a little bit of smoke. Remember, everything got rained on before I had a roof on here today. So, it's kind of looking like a little grotto in here, hey? Got some little tea lights in the walls. But, I'm going to add more clay, more rock, and then, there's a couple spots that need attention. There's still a little bit of smoke sometimes comes out of there, and I want it zero. I could mound all kinds of dirt on it too, which is easiest, but then you don't have and you still get the warmth of the rock under the soil, but I think I'd like to keep it as stonework. Clean it up, tidy it up. It's the old rifle. The pre-64 30-30. The electrical tape safety for the barrel and dirt. The extra ammo holder, again, electrical taped on the side. I don't keep any bullets in the gun usually. And your classic paracord sling. So, the politest fire you'll ever see. Just politely, slowly going up. You just put a stick in there and it just seems to kind of burn the whole stick. You don't have to have like things just right. It'll be really interesting to see what happens when you put in some big logs once it's all cured. It's still quite cool in here. And it's very quiet. I can only imagine how much quieter it'll be once a door is on here. But I just love it. It's really scratched an itch that I've been thinking of for a long time. If it was going to be for survival, I would build it half the size. The doorway half the size for sure, because that's going to be quite a little door to make. The bed is like a double or bigger. I'm going to get some marsh grass and stuff on there. Seems to me like the fire is polite enough that I wouldn't have to worry about having a bunch of grass in here. So yeah, half the size, door half the size. It'll be really interesting to see what happens over the years, like how much do the walls crumble in as things dry out? Are you sleeping in here and then all of a sudden rocks and debris and crap are falling on your face? Will it be full of mice? Probably. But as it stands right now, I've put in a lot of hard work. I'm really happy and proud of what I've done. I feel a good sense of accomplishment. My body is sore. I shouldn't even really have a fire this big in here. I should leave it alone and let it cure. So I'll be back in about a month with family, and that would be a good time to, let it rip then, but it's hard. It's always hard when you build a rock and clay oven structure thing to let it actually cure in the proper amount of time. If I swing this around, you can see I had a perfectly good piece of culvert that I picked up on the road that I could have used as a chimney. And I even put it in, and it was even bent in the right place haphazardly. And then I just was like, you know what? That's too easy. Plus, fire on galvanized metal releases toxins, and although you could burn it out in a matter of time, I just didn't want to deal with it. Dog is sleeping right here, and out here in this kind of grass crap, I'm going to go get a bunch of grass bedding. What do you think, Finn? It's your new den. You're not that excited about it. Hey? You're like, whatever. It's a good boy. It's cool in here. Hey? Needs a door. Yeah, it's cold in here. It's still April. April in the Chilcotin. Yeah, you can hang out in here with me while we play around with this fire and figure out where the little leaks are for smoke. And we'll clay and rock those over tomorrow. And what's fascinating right now is that fire inside is ripping. The chimney is right there. You can't even tell. Let's see. You can probably tell over here a little bit. Just a little bit. You can see a little bit of smoke. Against my better judgment, I kind of put a log in there. Can't help myself.